What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today, very straightforward video. I'm going to show you the easiest way to remove the radiator from your 100 series Land Cruiser. I've done some research on this, and it looks like most of the people do it the old school way where, you take out the fan, you take out the fan shroud, then you lift out the radiator, which is perfectly fine. But I think there's an easier way. Just like all my other videos, at the end, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks, hopefully make your life a little bit easier. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's take a look. Let's take a quick look underneath the hood of the Land Cruiser. Check out this radiator. Now, this guy is an OEM piece that I put in brand new, maybe about 3 years ago, and so far has no issues at all. A little bit dirty, but no issues. And of course, the fit and finish is perfect. But now, it's got to come out. Before we get started, I have to drain the fluid out of the radiator. Now, on this radiator, not only is there coolant, but there is also a power steering cooler built in. So this hose and the one over there, they both have to be disconnected as well. Once you get it cracked open, you can open up the radiator cap from up top to let it come out a lot faster. So while the coolant is draining underneath, I'm going to start taking out the stuff on top to get to the radiator. Now, I'm going to try to take out as little as possible, but still have ample room to get the radiator out without damaging it. So first off, let's get this overflow bottle out. Next, we want to take off these 12 millimeters so that this whole AC line is able to wiggle a little bit. Next up, we've got the two 12 millimeter bolts right here for the fan shroud. Down on the passenger side, there is one more hidden bolt for the fan shroud, also a 12 millimeter. So now with all those bolts loose, these guys are loose, fan shroud is loose, I should be able to pull the fan shroud up and push it back towards the fan. You can see there's still some room back there. I'm not going to take the entire fan shroud out. I just want it to be out of the way. Now you can see I unhooked the fan shroud from the bottom, and I can actually see the gap between the fan shroud and the radiator, and that will be enough room to get the radiator out without damaging it. So next up, let's unhook the top radiator hose and the bottom radiator hoses. Next up, we have these two hoses for the transmission cooler that's built into the radiator. I forget if any fluid comes out. I think there's a little bit, so just be careful. So while the transmission cooler is still draining, we can work on the top side of the vehicle again. We're going to take out the 4 mounting bolts that hold in the radiator. Actually, it's 2 nuts and 2 bolts. So first of all, we have a nut right here. You can see holds on right there. Then we've got one way at the bottom right there, that circle big washer piece. That is a mounting bolt for the radiator. Then it's the same thing on this side. There's one nut right here and one bolt way at the bottom. It's partially obstructed by my dual battery cable. I'm going to see if I need to remove the battery to get the radiator out. I don't think so, but we shall see. So one quick tip in moving the fan shroud as far back as possible, you see this little lower radiator hose holder. Once you unhook the radiator hose from the lower connection on the radiator, you can actually slide this guy out and to the side. That way you can move the fan shroud way far back. So if I do that, you can see we have plenty of space, and that will clear the radiator as far as where the lower radiator hose mounts to, all the little the tabs, the connections for the transmission cooler, and also the drain plug. So now, since everything is theoretically unhooked, I can pull the radiator out safely. And as extra precaution, I bungee corded the AC line kind of out of the way. I don't want this mount to be gouging itself into the radiator fins. So there we go, guys. The radiator is out. I don't think I nicked it with anything. I mean, I think these guys are old. They're from when I installed the thing. Yeah, but looks okay. So back in the engine bay, you can see where the radiator was mounted up. You've got this little tab right here where the bracket goes all the way around and slides in. Over here, it's a little bit different, where you have a rubber bushing that goes all the way around, that sits on top and below the bracket on the radiator. Then the bolt goes through. Now we can see that clearly. Of course, we have the AC condenser down here, as well as the fan shroud. Now they've got some either coolant or transmission fluid on the fan shroud, but I should be able to take the fan shroud out pretty easily now to clean it out. Actually, it just comes out like this now. Remove this bracket, and are you gonna come out, fan shroud? Maybe. Oh, this thing. Ta-da! Fan shroud is out, and I can give this guy a... There we go, fan shroud is out, and I can give this guy a good clean.
Now with everything out, it might be a good chance, if you haven't done so already, is to change the radiator hoses, both upper and lower radiator hose. If you wanted to do your belts, it's relatively easy. Any of the tensioners, I have all videos for that. Without even removing the radiator, you can do those guys. So there's a lot of possibilities here, but for me, what I think I'm gonna have to do mainly is just clean everything. There's just dirt everywhere. There's dirt in the fan, dirt everywhere. So I'm gonna try to give this guy a decent clean, and then next the new radiator goes in. And there we go, guys. The new radiator is installed. Actually, the installation was easier than the removal.
And just like that, the radiator is done. Now, a couple tips and tricks to make your life a little bit easier. Number one, make sure you have enough extensions, or maybe just one long extension will do. That is to get to the 2 bolts on either side of the radiator that go through the mount. I believe they are 12 millimeters. But what it is it's the one that goes from top to bottom through the rubber mounts into the frame of the Land Cruiser. Next tip, I do recommend taking out the battery. Now, obviously you saw in the video initially when I took the driver's side mounting bolt out, I did not take out the battery, but later on when I tried to put it back in, I did have the battery out. Reason being is because you're already reaching so far with that longer extension, you run the chance of cross-threading that bolt. So definitely don't be lazy, take out the battery. And lastly, make sure you bleed your cooling system properly. Now, the bleeder thing that I have, it was just a cheap one off of Amazon, so you can get those. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But make sure you're while you're bleeding the system, have the heater on full blast, both front and rear if you have it on your cruiser. And make sure you use the correct coolant. You want to use the Toyota red stuff. I believe there's 2 types, so check with your dealer. And make sure you give them the VIN number and the year of your vehicle, so that way you're using the right stuff in your Land Cruiser. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.